All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, it's hard to believe, but the Providence Friars have never won the Big East Conference's regular season title in men's basketball. And that's saying a lot, being that Providence has been around the Big East relatively since the conference's inception in 1979. Now, on two separate occasions, the Friars went to MSG and were able to win the Big East tournament, but things could be changing this year for Ed Cooley and his program. And the reason why I say it is this: you look at Providence right now, and a win tomorrow over over Creighton would give the Friars their first regular season title in the Big East, or since they've been in the Big East, which means that they would be the number one seed for next month's Big East tournament in New York City at the Garden. Now, the Friars have had some quality wins this year, first and foremost, out of conference wins over Wisconsin and Texas Tech. While, within the Big East, uh, Providence has beaten UConn. They've also split the season series with Marquette while also sweeping Xavier. And, for Ed Cooley, Providence's head basketball coach. He's in his 11th year, five NCAA tournament appearances, and this is going to be his sixth. And, you think about it because over the years, Providence, being that they are a small school, they've had a lot of difficulty in being able to retain their coaches because their coaches have gone on to do some big things in the basketball scene. Once upon a time, Rick Pitino left Providence after he led them to the Final Four in '87 for a job with the New York Knicks. And then, of course, the rest is history as far as what Pitino has done on the college basketball scene. You think about Rick Barnes, who had success at Providence once upon a time. Then he left for Clemson and then Texas, and now he's at Tennessee. Pete Gillen, who left Providence and went on to do some things with Virginia. And then, of course, the legendary Dave Gavitt, who, was a commissioner of the Big East Conference for so many years. But nonetheless, Ed Cooley, he's a local guy. He's from Providence. And, this is what he said so far. This is his dream job. And you know what? He's been there. He's built his program. He's established himself. A lot of highs and lows. But you know what? Nonetheless, it's all about his system. It's all about his program. And the proof is in the pudding, especially for this year with the success that the Friars are having on the hardwood. Now, led by center Nate Watson, six of Providence's top seven scorers are seniors. And that means that these guys have been in the program. They know the ins and outs. Again, Providence is not a perennial powerhouse. So they're not going to go out there and consistently get those top prospects to come play for them. It's going to be kids that are flying under the radar, you name it, coming out of high school and the prep ranks. But nonetheless, it's all about Ed Cooley's system and what he's doing to get the most out of his players. And we're seeing that this year. It's going to be tough for Providence, to back up potentially winning the Big East regular season title and going to win in the Big East tournament. Not saying that it can't happen. And the reason why I say it is this. I mean, you look at it, first and foremost, Providence has a very tough Creighton team tomorrow. Creighton is currently tied for third in the Big East, and they definitely want to try to finish that off. And then, of course, we could see the Big East crown potentially coming down to the last game of the regular season between Providence and Villanova. But nonetheless, you look at it for Providence and potentially going into next month's Big East tournament, there's a possibility of having to face Xavier for a third time in the Big East quarterfinals. Xavier right now is eighth in the Big East conference. They could potentially play Providence in the quarters. Obviously, a lot can be decided between now and then, but nonetheless, you look at it. Yes, Providence has beaten Xavier twice, but they were two very contested games. We saw the game this past Wednesday night. They went to triple overtime before the Friars were able to advance. Possible semi meetings with UConn and Marquette. And Providence had a close one with UConn earlier this season. They also split with Marquette. And then, of course, a potential Big East final against Villanova. But so the thing is, I'm not saying Providence can't win the Big East tournament next month at the Garden, but they're going to have to work for it just like everybody else is because that division or that conference rather is so competitive. And you're looking at this program, they're on the verge of history. And I'm not just talking about potentially what could happen tomorrow if Providence was able to beat Creighton, but also you're going to look at a situation for the Friars. They've never been higher than a 5 seed for the NCAA tournament. You got to go all the way back to 2004 for that, and they lost in the first round. That was when Tim Welsh was the head coach. But nonetheless, you look at the Friars, they're definitely going to be a 1, 2, or 3 seed at the worst heading into next month's NCAA tournament. Uncharted waters for this program. And, you definitely want to go out there and back it up. If you're them in the big dance, easier said than done, of course, because you got to bring your A game every single time you step on the court. But nonetheless, I just talked about the senior experience on this team with 6 years, 7 top scorers being seniors. So, that definitely should be beneficial for this team heading into March as these players have seen their fair share of battles in this program under Cooley. But nonetheless, this Providence program is on the cusp of history. I think it's a very good story for them. I think it's a very good story for Ed Cooley and everybody that is surrounding this program. So let's see how the Friars are able to finish the regular season here in the Big East. They definitely want to keep that momentum going into New York for next month's Big East tournament. And of course, they definitely want to try to do some damage in the Big Dance. You got to go back to 1997 to find the last time that the Friars were able to get past the second round. And that year they made it all the way to the Elite Eight. And that was a very good run with a very good team under Pete Gillen. They upset Duke in the second round. They gave Arizona all that they could handle in the South Regional Final that year. And of course, Arizona went on to win the national championship. But nonetheless, Providence had a very good team with the likes of Austin Crozier, uh, God Shamgod, Jamel Thomas, and Ruben Garces, just to name a few. But nonetheless, this team is hoping to like not only rewrite history for Providence, but make their own history as well. So, like I said, let's see if they can keep this momentum going for themselves heading into next month's Big East tournament and, of course, the big dance. But right now, you have to like what you're seeing out of this Friars squad. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.